Well, I just finished a print of a modification to the side frames. I thought I'd give you a little update. This is a simulation, a component. This is a piece of brass, 60 thousandths thick. It's a little under 3 by 13 millimeters, and it's supposed to fit into this little cavity. And the idea was you press it into that cavity, then you do your eyelets and solder these guys onto this brass plate with a pigtail coming out the top soldered onto this plate. So this plate becomes what I call a power bus. All the power coming from the track on this side goes to this bar, and then that bar goes up to the tender. So it's sort of collecting all of this. I tried it with a PC board, and it just got out of control. The PC board was too thick and too complicated, and by the time I cut it and filed it and made it fit, it was crazy. I can cut these things out in 2-3 seconds with tin snips. Press them in, solder to them, wire them, bingo, it's all done. So I printed 4 more out so I can build a tender now with both trucks being this particular design. I have one set built and then this set I just printed. While I was waiting for that to print, I had opened up Pandora's box. Actually, it wasn't. It was an R&D box that I had from long ago and far away. And in it, I had designs for a new train. I had created a template for a chassis. We've created a few chassis concepts. And I even started to build a few engine shapes that I thought, we could put together. This one's glued, 2 pieces that we could kind of put out there as you build your own engine. You use this to add on the parts you want. But the really important part was someone had asked me especially about an Atlantic chassis. Could we build an Atlantic chassis? And I happened to mention that we did, and I found it. This is an Atlantic chassis, totally 3D printed, with the old motor windings on it, and it ran. Okay, there are some differences that we made along the way. One of them was we went to a split chassis where the chassis unbolts, and I was able to add some lead to give it a little more body. And plus we went to my magnetic fields, which are a ton lighter, which gives a better balance as far as weight to ratio on where we are. There we are. That's a little better, isn't it? And so we assembled that. And in another way, I thought, well, I'm going to want a longer chassis, so why don't I turn this into like a motor module? So I created this as a motor module with an interconnector to a chassis design. And one of the first ideas I had was, of course, to build a Northern. So we did that. And of course, those are the Fat Man magnets on there. And this thing runs like a champ. I know it's crazy, but it does. The lower part was going to get hogged out and then have lead inserted into it. But we've since changed that. We may just use some other material for that. Then what I really wanted to get to was how could I attach a motor drive to a metal chassis, and how could I get a metal chassis? So we had a machinist make this for us, and I used it for a test, and it worked. Where the chassis is metal, and then the mount is flyer. You see that? We don't have the side mounts yet, but I was working on it. And then you bolt on an adapter that bolts on the flyer motor with the DC fields. So I'm just letting you know, and that was with Brown's bushings. All of this work has kind of just came to a halt about a year ago, it seems. I don't know what happened. I just got involved in a different venue and went off on a tangent. I needed a controller, and I needed a soundboard. I needed to have good smoke. A lot of things were hanging around, and it just seemed like a whole new engine didn't seem to be on the hit parade right away. So I kind of just put all this in a box, and I think what I'm going to do is put all this back in a box for now. But we'll explore this. We will explore this. I did have a request for an Atlantic chassis. And we have one here what would motor bolts on, you put your bushings and bearings in, your axles, and it's got all the mounts except the motor mounts and the rear. You don't have the rear motor mounts. And what I had tried to think through was a way to put tabs sticking out the sides that bolt into where the little tabs sit on the chassis of the Atlantic. You know, there's a red tab in there right now because this one didn't have any. But if you use that screw hole, could you put a tab on that and screw it in? Comes to find out, it's a little harder than you think because of space. So I kind of just backed away from it. But there may be another way of doing that. I'll do some exploration eventually. But that's where we are. Had a young engineer design this for us. He did a great job. And he had his engine going around the track. His Atlantic was running with something like this. It was pretty exciting. Nothing we can't do. It's just a matter of timing, okay? Right now I'm going to finish up my second set of trucks and get that nailed and out of here. And then, who knows, we may get back to this. Oh, and I found my original file for the Snowpiercer. Oh, yeah. We got the Snowpiercer movie poster. That's my incentive. Oh, and there's how I did that still movie. I clamped my camera up there and aimed it down, did all that. Anyway, that's where it's at. I gotta go. We're getting the AC, more work done on the AC, tune-up kinds of things now, cleaning, insulation, fixing leaks, stuff like that. So I'll get back to you later, and we'll see if we can have a full tender operation on something later today. Bye.